Hello everyone and welcome once again to another program of Prime Time. I'm your host Beverly and a happy new year to all of you, wishing you good health and happiness in 2017. And as is customary on Prime Time, we like to invite members of the media to chat with us a little bit about what happened in 2016 and see if we can make some predictions for 2017. It was a year with lots of surprises both locally and internationally. What can we expect now in 2017? Stick around for some insights from our media experts.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're covered when your house gets flooded, getting your settlements quickly and fairly when a fire hits your home, and making sure your business can keep going even after an accident happens on site. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
We're here at the outdoor sports meet. Oh, cut. These sandflies are murder. Wait, how come you aren't getting bitten?
Mommy uses Go Just for Kids to protect me from them and the evil mosquitoes that give you dengue.
There's also Go Family Protection for us adults. Can't be too careful with the dengue scares. Here.
Wow, this really works. Even the ants have stopped biting me. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Go, protect yourself.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. As I mentioned, today we are heading off our first set of programs for the year 2017, and we always do it on a very positive note by inviting some of my friends in the media, the experts. We have been doing this media round table over a decade. We were trying to count the years and we said, okay, we'll leave it over a decade. On my left is my good friend, Junior Lake, journalist, well-known journalist on the island. And right now he is about to publish his own book. Is it Pen on Paper?
Yes,
Pen on Paper. And then also my good friend too, Paul, and he is the publisher at the Daily Herald. It's a real honor for me, and I'm so grateful that you all say yes each and every year, and it's many, many years I've come asking, and you've always accepted. So I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and so Paul, let me just ask you, how is the media, how is the new year looking?
Well, interesting. Very interesting. We have a new government. We've had some economic setbacks, particularly in the cruise industry. We have a lot of law enforcement activity, some of it directed by Holland, obviously. And and internationally we have Mr. Trump, of course, and who knows what he's going to do.
And the new word in the media is what? Fake news?
Yes, there's a fake news phenomenon going on, and not only that, but there seems to be a trend where news is compartmentalized between whoever you believe in. So you have a channel for every opinion, and people only tend now to look at people that have the same opinion they do, which is obviously not a good development.
That's not democratic at all. And so how do you balance the hardcore news with what happens in the media now, in the computers and with all the YouTube? How do you compete?
It's hard.
Hardcore versus that.
Yeah, you have to compete with blogs who
and bloggers.
Yeah, who normally don't have the kind of standards and so that a newspaper has. But then again, ultimately, it's about credibility. And so even though the people might like to hear the latest gossip or melee, if they want to know for sure, nothing's for sure. Anybody can make a mistake. But there's a good chance that it's reliable. I think they will still turn to the main media for that.
Yes. And so, Junior, how has your year started? You've been busy with the book?
Yeah, I've been busy with the book, working on it, because one of my beliefs are really that St. Martin people have to write their own story. And every time there's something happens along the line, especially from a historic point of view, I believe that we should record it instead of leaving it up to others to do it first and then sit back and criticize and say, you didn't do it the right way. I believe, that we should do it first. And once you get involved in that, writing a book, it's not an easy task. And especially in these islands, it's not a financially profitable thing either. You do it because you believe in it, and you believe that for the present generation, the past generation, and the future generation that you're making a contribution.
All right. So let's go straight into it. Politics. A new government with the same faces. Can we expect any changes?
Well, to be honest with you, let me say that I'm worried about this year. It was one of the first times that I'm really worried about it, because when I look at the history of St. Martin, I see that we have these flows. From an economic point of view, I don't like what I'm seeing. It's troublesome, and it's an indication, a historic fact. For instance, if you look back in the history of St. Martin in the 1600s, when they started with the sugar crop, the sugar, before the sugar industry, the salt industry, it was suddenly an influx of people. Then average of 50, 60 years, then the salt went down. You came into the 1700s, the 1800s, and suddenly it was another influx. This time it was sugar. And then after, but always a one-crop economy. Then after, by the time slavery was coming in to invent, the population declined, the economy declined, again about 50, 60 years. And now we come into the 21st century, and we look at it from the 1960s, especially after the after the Fidel took over Cuba. Suddenly we had this influx, and there was a jump in the economy, and people flooded into the island. And now when we look at it in the 21st century, in the 2017, we see a sort of starting a decline. And you ask yourself, is it going to be the same thing that, again, you're going to have an exodus, just like how we had in the 1700s, then the 1800s, and now in the 21st century? So it worries me.
Paul, politics, a new government with the same faces, as we say.
Yeah,
Are we going to see anything different?
Some different faces, backed by the same parties, although two of them were independents last time. They're now with the U.S. party. We have one minister still to be appointed, which is also a question mark as if that's going to happen or if it's going to be somebody else. It's also an important portfolio, tourism.
Yes,
because
it is the important portfolio.
Yes, especially as what he just indicated, Joe, that yes, we are getting some hits. The competition is increasing, not just for cruise, which is major, because one of the things the cruise companies do, they build their own island or their own, sort of their own destination almost, so they can keep all the money for themselves. So you have to be really attractive for them to come and allow their passenger, that's how they see it, come and spend money in your territory. That's one. We have the marinas. They're building marinas all over the Caribbean. So this is also tough. We have pretty strong bridge and mooring fees, pretty high because of the bridge expansion and whatnot. So yes, it's going to be tough to compete. Of course, there are some good development, or when I say good, some promising developments like the Rainforest Adventure Park that may help bring still more tourists. And you got some projects like the Pearl of China, which if it does come would make a big difference, obviously.
Yeah. Do you think the days of ship jumping and falling governments are behind us?
Behind us completely, I wouldn't say. But fact of the matter is that people are not looking kindly, maybe as kindly as they did 4 years ago on these types of maneuvers. And it has gotten kind of a bad name. In addition, the current coalition has 10, so you would need 3 to jump in order to change the government. But it has happened before. So you cannot possibly exclude it, because the fact remains that the political parties' lists on a whole to a large extent consist of individuals who postulate them on whatever list they can best find to get elected. And therefore the cohesion, the kind of cohesion that you kind of need in politics, you don't see that enough.
But you were talking about politicians that are...
I would like to say this too, that politicians are very smart people. And if I'm a politician right now and I start to look at the predictions, I don't want to be in government. I want to be in opposition to blame the government for the hardships and the hard times that I foresee are coming. So from that point of view too, the government might be stable because everybody's going to be like a hands off. I don't want to touch this thing at this moment. Let them solve the problem first and then I'll jump in. But to say that I'm going to be in the beginning to try and solve that problem, you might just find that people just are reluctant to take down the government, and then the government will hold on for a while. However, we never show unexpected events that could happen that could then change up everything. But from a strictly logical point of view, I could see them holding out for at least for the year.
Okay, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about our relationship with Holland. And we see they've had a new move that came a couple of days ago. So we'll chat a little bit about that. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment. This is Prime Time with our Media Roundtable.
all across St. Martin are switching to a more rewarding experience. The WIB MasterCard Fun Miles credit card, better known as My Card. Earn 1 Fun Mile for every $2 spent, even abroad and online. This will quickly get you a ton of Fun Miles to redeem for travel, shopping, food, fuel, and much more. But there's more to My Card. Worldwide acceptance, an EMV chip for extra security, and 250 free Fun Miles with first use. Switch to My Card today at WIB.
Fun miles, from within your reach.
Travel Planners, an award-winning agency on St. Martin with a well-trained, knowledgeable and friendly staff dedicated to making your travel arrangements hassle-free. We can book your airline, car, cruise and hotel reservations to anywhere in the world. Visit our offices or log on to our website and take advantage of our special packages to the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Travel Planners, voted best travel agency on St. Martin.
A cruise is a great adventure, not only for passengers, also for us. The Port of St. Martin. Our port always reflected the needs and aspirations of the time. From the first to the 1.75 millionth passenger in 2013. Our cruise story started in 1963 with our first cruise passenger. 50 great years later, 20 million passengers later, thousands of cruise berths later, we've become the leading port in the Caribbean. 50 fantastic years. Like a dream. The dream of Port St. Martin lives on and reinvents itself every day. The best is yet to come.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us. This is Prime Time, our first program for the year 2017. We always start it off with a bang. We have our media experts with us and we were talking, we were going on and saying what is our relationship with Holland? Is it improving or not?
Well, improving, I don't think, because now they're saying from Holland they want a Commonwealth situation after we had so many referendums. So. That keeps a certain tension within the kingdom, and also from Statia, from Curacao, and particularly Bonaire, those are some also unhappiness with the current situation. On top of that, Holland has been very strict that they want us to comply with basic laws that are part of the kingdom. They consider that part of the kingdom of the Netherlands that we have to. And if we don't, they're going to make us and basically come down and do it themselves if necessary. And we are seeing some of that going on.
The quartermaster. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh,
that appointment that the government seems not to be very happy about.
It was a bit surprising because Holland had insisted on an integrity chamber.
Right.
And it was finally agreed that St. Martin would do their own. But the Ombudsman took it to the Constitutional Court, primarily because it is seen as violating people's rights to a fair trial and people's rights of privacy. Now, government has to address these shortcomings, obviously, and send the law back. But in the meantime, Holland suddenly has appointed the quartermaster, even though it is officially still saying that we will establish the integrity chamber. But there is a possibility Holland could do that through a kingdom measure. Then again, there is the Council of State, and they too would have to judge it. And I can't see them coming to a different conclusion than the Constitutional Court if they're serious about it. So I don't know what the plan is. Maybe it's just a push to try to push the cabinet to get through with this thing. But I wonder if it's even possible, because the comments of the Constitutional Court touch the very nucleus of this whole law, which is whether such a chamber will have far-reaching authorities, which are normally reserved for law enforcement agencies and authorities. So
that's an interesting step forward to look to in 2017.
Yes.
What about you? What do you think about Holland's dealing with us here on the island? As we said, we just appointed a quartermaster.
Well, my position.
I know your position. He hasn't wavered, Paul. He's holding on tight for all the years.
I think it's just It's a conflict of two cultures coming politically, economically, socially. And Paul could tell you this, but as far as I heard, something like of the 92 political parties or people of political influence in The Hague, the majority wants for the countries, for the Netherlands and these islands to go their separate ways. It's just people have just been coming of age. It's basically talking about it in our common languages. You know, you have adults in your home, and then no matter what you really want to put it, it comes a time when they have to go their own way, and you have to go your own way, and then in fact you become closer once you go your own separate ways. So all these type of things that is happening in The Hague or happening in the Netherlands, and the former Netherlands at least, or in St. Martin, to me is just a natural process that is taking place as people move towards taking their own destiny into their own hand and self-reliance.
Say the word, Junior.
Which is, you know, not
say the word. Say the magic
towards
word.
independence, you know. So I mean, these things don't upset me because I think it's just a matter of time as the conflicts builds, and then, you know, eventually the Netherlands will go their way and we will go our way, and then we'll be friends.
Let's hope, yeah.
Equal on a equal footing. You know.
Yeah. We saw some high-profile police arrests in 2016. Are we finally getting serious on especially white-collar crime, I would say?
In my opinion, justice delayed is justice denied. And a lot of these crimes that you see, or so-called crimes, you see them been sitting there for 5, 6, 7 years before they bring it to the courts. And then I also want a strong advocate of believing that the people should be judged in their own language by their own people, according to their own culture. So for me, I am definitely against all forms of crime, whether it's white-collar crime, whether it's violent crime, whatever type of crime. But I also am a strong advocate that people should be judged by in their own language, and that justice should take its place in a certain time. You cannot keep people at times waiting for 6, 7 years for you to give a judgment. That is completely against the thing, against any human rights as far as I am concerned. And these things, as well as the fact of just being able to arrest people, pick up people, and then it's almost as if you are guilty until you prove you're innocent. I believe you should be innocent until you prove that you're guilty.
Paul, what's your take on this?
Well, you know, it's a heavy law enforcement presence that the Holland has put here now. They are very serious about it. Let's be honest, also, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And if you do nothing wrong, you usually have nothing to worry about. But I do agree that justice has to take place within reasonable time frames and also according to established principles, presuming someone's innocence. And you don't see that as always, you know, being adhered to, at least in my opinion, in a correct manner. The other point is that we are a small society and we are used to treating each other with a certain form of respect, or at least try not to insult or offend each other. And yeah, people who come from bigger countries are probably less sensitive towards that. And that can also have a negative impact, just in the way you do. Not exactly what you do, but the way you do it. But yeah, on a whole, look, a lot has gone on in St. Martin for many years. I think most people would agree to that. And when you talk about vote buying and those kind of things, those are serious things, and they do undermine your democracy. So when they talk about undermining crimes, these are the types of things they mean. And on the other hand, some of it has always been allowed. Campaign contributions were never controlled. Now you do that, and of course now you go after everybody who is a campaign contributor. You can raise questions about that, but we did choose the prosecutor's office as our person of the year because of the impact that they did make, because they had a huge impact due to what you see, all these investigations and arrests.
Okay, at this point we'll take a break and then we come back. What are some issues that are on the horizon that we need to tackle on our island for the year 2017 moving forward? Stay tuned and we'll be right back. This is Prime Time. Don't forget to view us on YouTube and on Facebook.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
The Daily Herald is my first source for up-to-date information and news. Putting together this program of prime time requires research and knowledge of current events. For local news, regional and international news, do read the Daily Herald. This week is going to be a week in our lives that we won't forget. That is the inauguration of President Trump. Internationally, there's a major swing to the right with first the Brexit and win for Trump. What does this mean? Anything? First, let's talk about that Trump thing. Paul.
Amazed everybody. All the pollers, all the journalists, nobody saw it coming. They didn't even think he was going to win the nomination. Didn't think he stood a chance, and then he wins the presidency with a little help maybe from Putin and Russia. But fact of the matter is, there were a lot of people in the U.S. that apparently their voices weren't being heard, or they weren't making their voices heard. Maybe not so educated, probably in the rural areas. That's where he won most of his support. And it does teach you that you cannot ignore people just because you don't hear them all of the time.
Yeah. How is that going to affect us here on the island?
It's hard to say, because obviously he's striking an isolationist tone, which is going to affect the trade relations, which could be good or bad for America. It all depends how it pans out. He's also promising to restore jobs, factory jobs, and stop sending them abroad, these are all very difficult things to accomplish. But then again, the people do think that he's going to do it, and that's why they voted for him. And if they think that might make them go on vacation faster or spend money, buy a car, but also come to St. Martin. So it could actually work out in our favor, in the sense that the election year was a year to hold on and see what's going to happen. Now that it's happened, people who think things are going to be better, they might. Now, on the other hand, some people are very concerned and they might not want to travel. So you don't really know.
And then we have the terrorists that's happening all over the world, people not wanting to travel, not wanting to move out. You know, it's really tough for us here. What about you, Neil? What do you think about Trump and how that's going to affect us here on the island?
I'm concerned. I'm always opposed to isolationism, because it always leads, if you look at the Second World War, the First World War, it always leads to this mercantilistic approach and then people start to look inwards, and then everybody has become your enemy. And then the end result of that is that you could, for a small little thing, something big could be blown out of place, and we all could find ourselves in some serious problems. So I can't support that approach of being isolationist, being just looking inwards, especially a country like the United States of America, which is really the most powerful country and the leader of the world. If you're leading, you have to lead, you have to be up front. You have to do the things that will not only help you or benefit you, but benefit all of us, you know. And especially here in the Americas, you know, the whole Monroe Doctrine of America for the Americans, which stretched from Canada all the way down to Argentina. So then we're supposed to be part of that. But just even taking care of our own continent and leaving the rest of the other continents out. Again, remember, the world have something like 7 billion people. The United States of America have something like 300 million. That, you know, so therefore that isolationist approach is dangerous, because if the other leaders, if Merkel in Germany and Putin in Russia and Ling or whatever his name is in China, everybody start looking towards themselves, there's only one thing going to come out of that, you know, misunderstanding, not trust in each other, and eventually hostility and violence. So I'm concerned about the fact that he's going to be there for the next 4 years.
And I even wonder how he thinks he's going to do that, because if you talk about not exporting jobs, you have to compete with lower wages. Yet you're talking about increasing the minimum wage. these things don't really go together. If you talk about getting tough on China, but they own a quarter of your national debt,
right?
Okay, you talk about that, but at the same time, maybe not with Russia. So you have to look at every move you make. I think that's why he's been twittering maybe a little bit less. They're trying to tell him.
They're trying to curb him with that a little bit.
But the man is elected president. We have to respect him, and you have to assume there'll be a lot of people with common sense and a good head on their shoulders to advise him and to prevent.
And if you listen to that advice, yeah. So, what can we expect? What are some issues on the horizon that we have to look out in St. Martin? So we talked about the economy that's attached to tourism and so on. What are the areas you think we need to, that are in desperate dire need?
I think the garbage problem, we have to deal with it. We've been talking about it for years. We've been talking about an energy plant for over 2 decades. It's ridiculous. We have an energy company, let them look at it, because we can't go sending politicians to one waste plant to the other all over the world and come back and nothing happens. And the other thing I think is also the hospital. We do need a new hospital. And so whatever needs to be done, needs to be done. All the fighting between one group and the other group and all of that is just holding back. But those are definitely 2 issues. And I steal that a little bit from, he always says education. Education remains so important. And we have to pay attention to how our kids are coming out of school and if it's really what they need, to become good, productive citizens in society.
Junior?
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on education, and also the people talk about infrastructure, that we have to work on our infrastructure. But infrastructure is nothing else but modernizing the society. I mean, building roads that in such a way that you don't have to take an hour to come from Juliana to town. Because then you compete, like if you're a big island, you compete in the big islands where you have to go from one place to next and taking 3 hours. In fact, you'll be more frustrated sitting in the traffic all the time. So those type of things is directly related to your economy. I think our economy is in big trouble. And like I said it before, I'm going to come back to that we are on a decline. We have been stagnant for a couple of years and now we stand to decline. And that is directly related to the way we handle our affairs. So we have to get in there and compete. We are strategically located, but we have to make the best of it and just not sit back and say, yeah, things are going to happen. Things are not going to happen. You got to make it happen. Right. It's like one of the U.S. presidents said a couple of years ago, when the going get tough, the tough get going. And we have to get going now, really.
Okay, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on the program, Paul and Junior, for your expertise and your take on what's happening in the world and on St. Martin. And we hope that 2017 on St. Martin we will see not a decline but an upswing in our economy and getting things done. Hopefully we'll have a stable government that will carry us through for quite a number of years, because stability is what really matters and counts.
Amen.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program. I'll see you next week, and stay tuned. For the next week, we're going to have part 2 with 2 other media personalities. And so, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next week, and may God bless you.